Welcome to KNC Studio. My name is Chen Yu. I will walk you through the step-by-step tutorial on how to sculpt Gengar from start to finish. This will be the very first Nomad sculpt tutorial in this channel and will be beginner friendly. Let's get started. The first thing we want to do is making sure we get the reference into the background. The picture icon here, once you click it, you're likely going to see the reference image unchecked. So you just click on that. And it's going to give you some options here. If you click on the image icon, there's a import button here you can click on. So you can import either the reference image from photos or files, etc. Because we already have it here imported, so we just cancel it here. One thing really helpful besides this parameter, way more straightforward, is this transform button. So once you click on that, you can use your fingers, the finger gesture, to move things around, rotate it, etc. And you just need to tap the screen. It will set to the original layout. Okay, for now, we will need the reference at the center to help us block out the overall character shape, form, proportion, etc. So we're going to do the reset right over here. Okay, under the scene hierarchy here, you can see the sphere is the only model in our scene. Let's hide it first. Let's analyze the Gengar really quick. He has a lot of spiky cone shape extension, if we call it that way, growing out of his body, and his overall shape and form is for the torso or head all combined. It's actually just a big oval shape. For arm, basically just like extended tube with some spiky cone shape again. Fingers or claws. Similar applies to the leg and the feet. So it's quite simple. And if you look at the side view here, there's a tail and also more spiky shape on his back. I think there are 3 rows. 1 row in the middle along the spine and 2 on each side, left and right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 spikes in the middle and 5 on both sides. Okay, now let's start. Enable, turn on the sphere, and we try to align as close as possible. Then let's use move brush and just slowly, gently massage it pretty much. Change your brush size. If you are right-handed, you can use your left thumb to adjust the brush size. So you don't need to move your right hand across the screen to do that. And try to enjoy the process, doing it slow. And once you get used to that, the speed will increase for sure. Okay, so the body actually is matching pretty well now, but let's look at from the side. Tap, move on to the side view. Okay, now I want the top going up a little bit more, so the shape feel more full. And I want to make sure I push it in a bit. And you probably noticed that we only need to do one side. The brush will do the symmetrical mirroring for us. Now I want to undo. I just 2 fingers tap. And now the side looks much more close to the side view reference. Okay. And let's move it back to align. And we are going to set up our camera, a custom camera. And we're going to save it. And we can name it to modeling cam. It's very useful for you. Whenever you move the camera and it get lost, you can always go back and just click on it. Okay, next we're going to start adding the ears, the spiky ears. It's quite straightforward when you see these green dots and the yellow dots. It's basically just allow you to click and drag and control the size. Rotate, scale overall, too long, so we scale it back, move it down a bit. We don't worry about polishing it at this point. So once we have this, we feel good about it, we validate it. And we will do one thing. We're going to name it right now. And what we will do, we will separate it from the camera. And we are going to add a mirror repeater. So it takes care of the other side automatically. And we're going to create another cone for the spiky hair. Move it up, straight up, and I disabled gizmo and I move the control down so it's not in my way. So here's a tiny arrow, point up and down depending on where it is. So if you clicked it, going up and then click again, move to the bottom. Tap the middle one, so it bring it down the height. Again, okay. Whenever the size is about right, then you can do this. Now it's mirrored because it's underneath structure-wise. That's under the mirror node. So both the ears and also the newly created cone is underneath there. We can keep it that way, or we can create a more unique hair. If we call this spiky hair, and we can do clone, and we can do it 3 more times. Let's say I want this one to be longer, bigger. And then we have, let's say we have the hair, the spiky hair goes from small to this one. Scale it up a little bit, medium, and then large, a little bit larger. And then back to small. So feel a little bit more stylized than all mirrored, which look boring. Okay, now we got the hair, the spiky hair blocked out. And let's turn it around, see how it look. Okay. I feel like to move the whole thing back a bit. I think this work better. Undo. Redo. Okay, something like this. And we can tap the modeling cam again. And if you click on X-ray, this allows you to see through things. Pretty cool. Next step, let's quickly using one of the most powerful tool in Nomad Sculpt, the tube tool. So how to use it? First, you make sure you have the body selected because we are going to extend or create the tube from the body out. And it didn't work this time. It's not working this time. The reason is because, let me set the camera back. So this happens pretty often. That's because in this tube tool, by default, the curve is not being enabled. So you click on the curve and then going back just to draw it. Okay. Then you get a few options at the bottom here. You only need to pay attention to a couple of them, to be honest. So first, we want the arm grow somewhere deeper inside. And we got 4 points here. Actually, I think that's pretty good. But you can tell it's not where it should be yet. And let's address it right now. So if we click on this, the gizmo here, you can move the whole thing together. I think the spot feels about right. We can fine tune it later on as needed. Let's tap the modeling cam again. See, that's why it's handy. And to adjust the size of the arm to matching the whole arm, there's something called radius. If you tap and hold, you're going to see there are 3 options. First one, that means only one size for all. That's where we are now. So if you do this, you're going to uniformly changing the size of the arm. If you do 2, that means the star at the end. You have 2 control. If you tap it again, you got 3. 3 means every single point has its own control. Basically, you have much more precise control over the arm now. That's actually pretty good. If I click the wire here, you can see the resolution is very low. Even though you can turn on smooth shading, but you might have problem when you're doing sculpt and smoothing later on. It just looks smooth, but actually it's not. Just a shader trick. So you will always want to either just increase, disable this, a couple extra subdivision, at least one. Okay. And how to touch it again, right? You click the 3 dots, then you can actually set up the mesh parameters. We will keep that not validated yet. So we got more freedom later on. But what we need to do now is we're going to add a mirror node. Plus sign and then go to repeater. Click on it. And right away, you have that created for both arms. Because I like to have the first, I like this area I like how the body appears more like in front of the arm look. So I like to click on that and from a top-down view, I want to move this back a bit and then reduce the size. And if we click on the model view again, it looks much better. So you can see that's before, that's something like that, and this is after. This is going to help out the overall shape and make him look more natural. Next step, there will be the leg. That's exactly the same steps that we just did. So making sure the body is selected, making sure the tube brush is selected. And then we're going to using the curve mode here. Again, let's draw something quickly. Let's do it again. Okay. I'm going to move it a bit deeper. There's not much bending here, so I think just 3 points might be enough. And remember now the option is on the top. So remember we just click on radius like twice. So all 3 dots are enabled right now. And we will just try to match the size. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Once we have the shape matching the reference, let's increase a couple more subdivision to help out the legs quality. Once we did that, we unpin it, move the camera to the side. So we can click on gizmo on the left to bring the leg back. So the leg now is more aligned. And at the same time, we can tweak the ear a little bit. Okay. Now let's continue block out. Let's click on the camera, match it first, tap on the leg, make sure move it under mirror, and we can rename this to leg and change this to arm. Help is much easier for us to know what's going on here. Okay. To add the claws or fingers, we will use another tool, insert tool, right over here. Tap on it, and on the left, choose cone, and you should be able to click and drag. And let's match that. See how that looks. I want it to be a little bit longer because once we smooth it, some of the volume, especially the tip, will shrink or even get rounded out. Let's check from the side. From the front view actually looks good. Maybe just move it to the front a tiny bit. Now we are ready to actually just to clone it. Clone again, move, click on camera, the modeling cam, so we can see how close we are. So as you can see here, and we can adjust it to better match that. We don't need to match it 100%, but it's going to help our sculpt feel more authentic. For the feet, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to add a sphere here. scale it down. Move into position. Something like this. We just do that really quick. Perhaps something like this. So you can look at the reference right over here. And the feet actually is not very big. It's pretty flat actually. But the heel, we need a bit more volume. And once we smooth it, things will shrink actually. So once we have something like this, actually that's validated, so we can continue editing it. I'm going to sculpt the ankle, make it more full. And we are going to use the local symmetry. So we click on it. So when we click on that, it's going to mirror the change we did at the local level for this mesh. Then going to turn a little bit. Okay, now we are good changing to world. Back to move. We just want to make sure the transition feel natural. Okay. Let's say we feel good about what we have now and check out the modeling cam. Okay. And turn on X-ray. Cool. Now we will scale it so it doesn't appear to be so wide. And we are about to use trim brush here to cut away the unnecessary bottom. Something like this. Cool. And if we check out from the perspective view, feel pretty good. And we are going to trim away more later to match this shape over there. Let's continue block out the rest of the body components. I think it's a good time for us to move our reference somewhere else so it's not in the way. Okay, put it on the right. And while we are here, we'll adjust the leg placement quickly. Move, click on it, make sure symmetrical is on. Just give it a slightly curvy shape. That feels good. Now it's time to add the tail. To add the tail, we will use Tube Tool again, but this time we are going to start from the side view actually. Turn on Grid. Once we are here, select Tube, select Curve, and then just draw like this. We already know how to control the radius. So at the beginning, look like this. Oh, yeah, actually it's snapping to the grid by default. That's okay. We want to make sure we have the 3 radius all turned on. So we can control. Let's turn off grid. so it won't snap. Maybe delete one, don't need so many. You just click and move, drag it to meet the X, and they will merge into one. Now we can do this. I think that looks pretty good. Now let's switch to the top view and move it out from the mirror group. So we only need one. While we are here, change it to tail. Hit OK. Now we need to turn on grid so it can actually snap. Actually, we don't need it. Sorry. I think we can just move it this way. Pretty spot on. But when you look close, it's not smooth. Do it twice. I think that's good enough. And when you smooth it out already, you can decide to turn on smooth shading or not. But usually, don't force it on. Will help you better understand the quality of your mesh service. Like that, that's off. But for example, when you're doing 3D print or doing some mesh smoothing, for example, using dynamic topology, you might get some unexpected results if the mesh density is not high enough. And now, since we are here, we just subdivide it twice, and we can do it lower. We don't need to store extra data. And I think they look pretty good now. Next will be the spikes along the spine. There's a center row about 6 spikes. We will probably just do it the easy way. We don't need using curve in this one. Whatever is easy to handle, give you the result you want, we will use it. It could be our first one. We need 5 more. Clone, move, turn, make it slightly bigger, shorter, clone, move, turn, make it again slightly bigger. I'm going to scale them down. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. Okay, the last one for the center row. That looks pretty good. And for the left and right, the 2 rows on both sides, we're going to use a different approach. Show you a different way to do it, and you can decide what works for you best in the future. We have the ear and this incur in the same group right now, but actually we don't need to mirror this center row spikes, so just move it out. Okay, looks like I can only move one out at a time, but I can group them and then move the whole group out. And I can move the tail in. So they are all the same group. Move all of the center spikes, and we can actually join them together. So basically what join is doing is just combine them one mesh. For the two rows, we will use insert brush. We choose a sphere, and if you click on that and draw maybe something like this, let go, then you got one placed right on the surface. And with that, we're going to try the curve repeater. Once you have the curve repeater, it's going to stick on right on top of that. And we just need to move it down. So that's a starting point, and also that's an end point. And we can something like this. We only have 2 spheres right now. We can increase it to 5. That's what we need. Let's check out from the side view quickly. Perhaps we can increase the radius. And the radius, if you remember, yellow dots here. Let you do that. Okay, now we are going to create a spike. First, we have to make sure we are at the sphere level. And we haven't validated, so that's why we cannot apply other brush. So let's validate it. Once we validate the sphere, you notice all the brushes become available. So we're going to use the Move Sharp brush instead of Move brush. So it's basically just a duplicate, just a clone of the Move brush. I cloned it, and then I changed the preset of the profile from this to this, and that gives me the result I need. Okay, and how to do it? You make sure the normal on the left is enabled, and you pick any one of the sphere here. Oh, actually, we already select this one, so let's do this here. So that's the result you get. It's pretty cool. And now we just need to move it down. To do that, we notice the gizmo is not necessarily aligned. So when that happens, one trick you can do is you have the gizmo selected, click pivot, and once you do that, you can adjust the orientation of your pivot to better align with how you plan to edit it. Once you are good, you click pivot again, get out of the pivot editing mode. Now we can push this down a bit so it look more natural. You can avoid showing the curve shape much there. And also we actually need the 2 rows on the side appear to be smaller. And we can scale it too. Okay, that feels pretty good. Maybe whiter base. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong. Just personal preference. Okay. Once we are good with that, we can adjust it further. Go back to the curve. While we are here, we have control over the radius. So once we click it 2 more times, disable gizmo, because when you are in gizmo mode, you cannot actually manipulate the curve control. So we disabled it. Now all those points, all those control points show up, and we want to make sure the center one appears to be bigger. Cool. maybe move this a little bit here. And now we are ready to make sure it's mirrored. Let's just add a mirror node, the repeater node on the top. So there we go. Cool. Let's save it before we lose it. Nice. Now we feel better. Okay, now the approach we are going to try is using Boolean function. We're going to create a sphere. Move it out so you can see it. I'm going to move it to about the side, the eyes shape. If you look at the eye, the reference, it's almost like a half sphere. So what we are going to do is I'm going to cut it, trim it to more like a half sphere, and using it to cut away the space for the eye. So I validate it. I'm going to use the trim brush. I'm going to trim something like this. The top half will be gone. And let me solo it. I'm also going to trim away something like this. So if you look at this side now, see, it matches the eye shape very well. Okay, let's give it some color so we can see the difference. And why not just give it red? Apply, move it, turn it, front view, and try to align as close as possible to the actual reference. Okay. And if we turn on X-ray, we can see how much it cuts through. Maybe we need to scale it a little bit more so you cut a bit deeper. Let's move it back to the camera position. Disable that. Actually, that matches pretty well. We don't need to match 100%, but I think that's pretty close in. Drag it up a little bit more. Okay. Now it looks funny, I know. What we can do here, we select both. Let's join. So they become one piece now, this piece. And to do the Boolean, we need to cut away the red volume, cut it away from the white. So the way to do it is we make sure pin this so it won't disappear. And the sphere here, we're going to decouple that with the rest of things. So, okay, now we have the main body, the head body selected and checked. And we identify, okay, here are the negative, the two pieces of negative thing which combined already. So we're going to, using the small one to cut away from the bigger sphere, the head body. So we select both. In the negative space for the eyes, we turn the eye off so it will cut it away. So while we have both selected and the negative one turn off the eye icon, we can just hit Boolean. Now you get it. To processing and smooth out this is way more easier. Let's start to deal with the mouth shape. Let's use a cylinder this time. Add a cylinder. Snap the angle. So when we turn it, It's perfect. We will move it out, scale it down to about the right size, set it to the right camera, turn on X-ray. You can see our cylinder is still too small compared to the overall mouse shape. So let's just scale it up. That's about right now. Let's shrink it down to the right depths we want to cut. Maybe go a little bit deeper to be safe. Okay, something like that. And we're going to actually clone one. Go higher. Go back to the camera view. And now you can see we move it just to touch the top of the mouse. If we want to match it correctly, right? Or precise match, right? Then we scale it up. So that's basically just fill the space and match it perfectly. When we get out of X-ray, now we can scale this a little bit wider. The one we currently selected, we will keep the eye turned on. The top will turn off the eye, and then select both. Now we are ready to tap Boolean. Voila! Now we have a mouse shape. We can first clone, save it for a different purpose later. Okay, now we are going to create the teeth actually before we cut out the mouse from the body. Okay, to do that, we are going to clone both the negative mouse piece and also the body piece. Going to clone it once for that, clone it once for this, and we're going to hide these two as backup, right? And we're going to select these two, both negative, I believe, and click Boolean and Boolean. Yes, there you go. By hiding both of them during Boolean process, it's actually going to create the overlap, the volume. Now let's enable this tool. So you can see we still have the mouse piece here. We can use it to cut away things. We have this, I call them teeth because there will be the teeth soon. You see, the front is curved, right? Let's hide the teeth first. And then let's enable the body head. That's not being cut yet. And this is the negative volume. It's going to open up the mouse. So we're going to select it, move it to the right spot first. Going to have, I think that's good. Turn it to be negative. Hide it, select both. Boolean. Good. Boolean. Now he's happy. I want to move this away. Don't quite like it in the way. Let's apply some color to the body so we can see things clearly. Pick the Gengar color. If you never used the material editing, the PBR material before, there are three major parameters in this shader here. One is roughness, which is control how rough, how smooth the surface is. When there's zero roughness, that means that's 100% smooth. It's going to show up highlight, reflection, specular reflection at its best potential of the material. And if we move all the way to roughness, then there's only diffusion left. Metalness, let's control either the reflection should take the metalness quality into account. You can see between non-metal and the metal gets much darker and more saturated. In this case, Gengar is not metal, so we keep it 0. And once we have those two set up, we want to give it some subtle reflection so it looks better shapes there. Now it's time for voxelization. Okay. It's going to have a very even resolution across the board. Okay, now we can smooth this by turning on dynamic topology. Crank it up and just smooth out the edge. Pretty good. Undo solo. Let's move the teeth back a bit. And I would like to move the pivot. That's where the control point of the teeth actually. Okay. I move it to here, so that's the pivot point I'm happy with. So I just disabled it. So from now on, I can just move these things instead of move the pivot point again. And now we are creating separation lines for the teeth with a simple alpha brush. It's not bad. Okay, there you go. That's the teeth we have here. But we need to add eyes now. To add eyes, which is insert brush. Choose a sphere, just right here. Okay. Make sure you got enough resolution. Validate it. Okay. Now we can move this wherever we need it to be. Look at that from different angle. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, using the move brush. Tap it. Make this always unlit. Assign a color to it. Gengar's eye color. Something close to this. And change it to eyes. Eye. Just move it under mirror 1. With the eyes created, we need to add iris and eye highlights. Very easy. With eye selected, insert. We'll insert a small cylinder here. Something like that. We just validate it because it's very small, so resolution is not necessarily an issue. Kind of turn it to the way we want to scale it. And we scale it down something like that. It looks good. Let's check the resolution quickly. And I want to apply, using the newly added feature, apply a global smooth. If I zoom in, undo it, and then do it again. Smooth. You can see things in action, which is working very well. Maybe a little bit more. We can subdivide it and then apply the smooth even more. Okay, we can apply it to black right away, and the black don't need reflection much, so we just turn the roughness really high. Extend. And we're going to do a Boolean of these two. Hide this eye. Check both. Boolean. Okay. Now we have it. Okay. It's a bit hard to see, but let me apply the highlight color because this is gonna be the highlight. So scale it down. Cool. I think I like it. And now let's assign the same purple color to the rest of the body. Great. Next, we are going to finish Gengar's hands and feet. We will trimming off the unnecessary parts. We'll be starting using the trim tool to take care of the feet. Tap the feet, so we make sure the feet being selected, and tap on the trim tool. We will look at it from the top-down view. Tap on the top, tap on solo, so we don't need to see everything else. Tap will make it pointy. Whenever you are happy with the shape that you want to cut, you just tap the green dots here. Okay, now it's gone. We can also do some treatment for the side. Cool. Now we got the feet trimmed. Now we can start working on the facial polishing. Okay, now we're going to finish the arm. I'm going to validate it first. And something we haven't really addressed and we need to deal with now is the arm. Select trim tool, move it, readjust it, trim away the thing that we don't need. And we can do a trim to make sure the feet is flat underneath. Now we will combine the body, the ears, the arms, and the legs together. Still want to make sure you feel like a cool, spiky hair, so don't want to smooth it out too much. So I think it looks pretty good now, front and back. To set up lighting, we will tap on the menu with the sun icon to show the lighting panel, where you have control over the shading and the light setup. You can either hide or show paint, or use the materials from the matte cap for your model. To add lights to your scene, just tap on the Add Light button. There are 4 different light types available in Nomad Sculpt. Whenever you have the lights selected on the top, their lighting panel is going to show up. You can tap on here and choose the different light types you want. We will use the spotlight in this case, so we have more control over which area is shining on. Look from the top view, we can move the light back because I want to create a rim type of thing quickly. Move the green dots. That's a target point. You can use that as an aiming control. See, it snaps to the mesh automatically depending on where you move it to. Pretty handy. Somewhere like 8 or 10, that's enough. That's pretty good a rim light from behind. And we can move to left or right, so it's not so perfectly behind. And we are going to create another light by hitting the Add Light button there. And we're going to move it. Give the light some color to better suit for Gengar's atmosphere. Maybe more blue, bluish purple. Move the light direction. Let's say if we do it something like this, experimental. Maybe something like this for now. So it's shaped from the right. And instead of adding another field light, I want to turn on the environment lighting. If you tap on that, check the box, and reset some of the settings here. It's a starting point, and starting with totally darkness. Okay, apparently since there's high diamond range, so you can turn all the way down. So we just bring it really low, almost black, and kind of bring back up to the point that it feels readable but not over bright. A little bit creepy, mysterious vibe for Gengar. We can start rotating. I like using this environment, the HDR, because it got a different color in one. Before we go too far on the lighting setup, let's adjust the background color quickly. Let's go back to lighting, and we can play around a bit here. We help you find the environment lighting you like to use. If we go back to the first one we choose, and we can dial it down a little bit like that. And at this time, we say yes, maybe that's a good starting point already. And I want to bring it down the contrast a little bit to pop Gengar out a little bit more. Great! After we have the lighting set up, it is time for us to turn on post-processing and set up the visual effects we need. Starting from the top, Reflection SSR. It is a real-time screen space reflection tech used in video game all the time. Basically, which will take everything inside the frame into account for a more realistic rendering result. In our case, we will keep it on. Next one is SSGI, because SSGI is pretty expensive and also will add noise to your rendering. Since we don't get much visual enhancement here, we will just keep it off. Next one is ambient occlusion. You may also hear people saying AO in short. It is a smart trick in computer graphics to mimic the context shadow. It is very useful for both environment and character presentation. We will definitely keep it on for better quality render. Next is depth of field. People also call it DOF, DOF. It is an optical lens effect to mimic how real-world camera lens or even human eyes perceive the world. Only the area in focus will look sharp, and the out of focus area will be blurry. In Nomad Sculpt, you can just tap on the eyes of the model and the camera will focus on it. You can also control the blurry level for both the near and the far plane with the two sliders. Boolean is a very helpful and even must-have feature to turn on, especially when you have anything glowing in the scene. When you set it up properly, it's going to enhance the atmosphere, making everything blend more naturally. Usually the default bloom settings might be too strong, but you can always tune it further based on your actual needs. Just keep in mind, you will need to apply Always Unlit under Material drop-down menu to activate bloom effects. Tone mapping is a computer graphics technique used in image processing to optimize the graphics between different displays. In our case here, you can experiment and try out different options to find the look you like. We usually use it as a combination with color grading to craft the unique visual style for our render. Here we will choose ACES. ACES is an industry standard color management system used for professional film and video production. Color grading has been used in film and video production for a long time, which allows professional colorists to craft unique visual styles for better storytelling. Although we don't have color wheel control for highlights, mid-tone, shadows, adjustment, etc., the RGB curves still provide the basic function for crafting the style you like. Here are just some demos when we push the curve grading to its extreme, so you can see how it affects the highlight, mid-tone, and shadow areas. In most cases, the color grading was done in a much more subtle way, with a combination of exposure and contrast adjustments. It's always fun to experiment and dial the look you want. Curvature is an interesting feature if you are looking for more non-photorealistic rendering style. Basically, you can color tint either or both the bump and cavity areas with a factor to control the transition. I'm just trying some extreme example here so you can see the effects. For our purpose, we can either turn it off or keep it really subtle. Next one is chromatic aberration. It is a simple value control to mimic the imperfection of the color shifting on the screen. Vignette. Vignette allows to mimic a common camera lens artifacts. You can control the size and the transition of the dark corner look. When done right, it actually helps the viewer's eye focusing on the subject on the frame. Grain will add grainy noise to your render to mimic the high ISO film look. We want our render to look clean and professional, so we will not use it here. Pixel art is very fun style and useful if you want to create some retro looking icons. You can experiment the intensity as a combination of the camera distance to get the result you need. If you just try to create some small size icon, you can just do screen capture and then crop it for your needs to save time, instead of doing the whole frame render. Scanline is a cool visual style as well. It's great to mimic the old school CRT TV look. It can add interesting texture and also add a fidelity to your render. There you go. These are the most important post-processing features and control you need to know. This will help you achieve higher quality rendering for your art. With a combination of good lighting setup and post-processing settings, it will push your 3D Sculpt presentation to the next level. If you are still with me, thank you and congratulations. Any comments and feedbacks are always welcome, and we will continue making more quality videos in the future. See you soon, and happy sculpting!